So the first item on the agenda, I just want to find out about what's going on with the kayak launch at the skate park.
Alright, so just to give you guys something that we need to think about how we're gonna approach the kayak launch. Because we're taking out a handicap accessible kayak launch and putting in a new kayak launch. So one of the things that you have to be concerned about is that we had previously a handicap accessible. I know it didn't quite right. So we've discontinued as to use. One of the things we have to do is think about accessibility. We need to just give some concepts to what we're trying to do down there. I know, Nick, you originally proposed just stone set down in, but that's not going to allow us to have any ADA compliance as far as that facility or that.
Even though it's not exactly in the same spot as it was before?
You're still putting in a new boat ramp. So all facilities built after 2002, recreation was brought in as part of ADA. So you have to make ADA components. To the best of our ability, it can be determined that it's not feasible
Right.
to do it in a location.
Yeah.
We want to consider designing it in a way that it would be. So you can see on the back, this was laid out by, well, a lot of times a launch of a kayak on a river can look like as far as coming in. Do we want to design something like that, which would be more compatible if you built it by the bridge there, bringing in the cement walkway down to the river, bringing it in right where that protected area is, and then creating a slope so that a person could access the area if needed.
I wonder,
Is that
the
allowed?
slope would be so steep though, wouldn't it?
You would have to start back further and create the slope coming in.
And then kind of go into
Yeah, so there's an area, Nick's proposed an area right near the bridge, that there's sort of a
It
jog
kind
land that comes
jogs
in,
in,
that creates like a little protected pool area.
right?
And then there'd be a boat, there could be a launch possibly put there. It's sort of sheltered from the rest of the river flow. I think Nick was good at identifying this area, but the original concept was to build with just stones, which wouldn't make it ADA compliant. Then are we going to create a walk path up to the facility, or how would you want to do it? If we were to lay it out, if you were to do it to be compatible, you'd design it in a model such as this.
So what level of ADA compliance does it have to be? Because, I mean, somebody that's in a wheelchair is not gonna drag a kayak down
And they
there.
do.
Really?
but then wouldn't they need like, on top of a ramp, wouldn't you need maybe like a
Yeah,
handrail?
like
And then what
grab
kind
bars.
of maintenance goes along with trying to make sure that the concrete stays intact? Like if it starts to crack and if it starts, like weeds start to grow up through it, how much maintenance is this gonna be to keep it ADA compliant?
That's something we'd be taking on as far, I think partially because of the location Nick's identified is it's sort of sheltered from the rest of the river except during high flows.
Okay,
If you have less than 1.5 degrees, you don't need handrails to do.
so would we have to get an engineer out there to see?
You
Okay,
have to have an engineer. We have some money to do engineering. We have the money to do, but the original proposal was for them to just do an NOI and put rocks in, but it's gonna be more than that. So, we have to lay out we have to see whether or not design is feasible
yeah.
for it to be accessible.
So for us to do rocks, we still have to explore ramps.
Yeah, we just can't say we're building a facility not to. So I just want to make sure it was all right with this board that we haven't looked at it as a full ADA compliant boat launch.
If that's the only way we can do it, then
And then
I'm,
if it comes back and it's completely unfeasible, then we can look for, we're not going to spend $1 million on on it. But if it's feasible to be done this way,
Right.
then this would be the way to do it. It would allow full accessibility.
Maybe with the steepness, I wonder if a switchback, you know what I mean?
Well, it
If
could
we
be
come in and
switchback.
switchback, that would,
I mean, are we talking about poured concrete formed up and going down into the river?
Yeah,
And this is a very unstable bank, right? There's a lot of mud and movement.
this is why we'd have to have them look at this in particular and see whether or not it's even feasible in
Yeah.
that location to do something like this.
Okay, yes, if
Yeah,
the,
you're just putting the stones as you had originally something.
that's something we can't
So
do.
are we on the list for the engineers to come and look at this? Because we've
I
been,
need to clarify exactly, I spoke to Steve back, what exactly we're looking for.
okay,
As far as, because originally it was just an NOI to set step stones down in,
right,
but after checking with the ADA requirements, I did check with legal on it as far as under the recreational section, especially given the fact that we're removing an ADA, and it has been removed, an ADA kayak launch, and we're replacing it with a launch that we should be trying to make it ADA compliant first, so,
okay.
yeah.
So I'm good with it.
Do you think that the Conservation Commission's gonna need to, I mean, is gonna have,
Oh, absolutely, you're gonna have to file a notice of intent, the whole thing, and that'll have to be, because if the banks aren't stable, how far they go down, what piering or any, you would know foundation wise, how deep you'd have to go to make sure that this doesn't shift. I don't think you're just putting a concrete
Right,
pad over the top, it's gonna have to be built down, it's gonna, buttress possibly with rocks or stones on the sides of it and the rest, so, yeah.
another thing, the question, is that inside state layout?
As far as the river,
Yeah, I mean, as far as the right of way down through there, they.
yeah, we most likely have to file under chapter 91, which is the boat launch standards. That would just be notifying them
Okay.
and that, so that we
I
have to
think-
notify them of that.
I think the right of way down through there is pretty wide.
Yeah.
State.
Yeah, an access permit. Yep.
So there's a lot to it, probably.
Yeah. That area most likely is not town land, that's what he's referring to.
right,
It's probably within the state.
It's within the state layout.
right.
Road.
I should-
Well, you would think they would want to. I mean, they did stick their boat launch sign there, so,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So I'm good with it.
Access permit under chapter 91.
Yeah,
Are you
I
good
think,
with
yeah, so we should just explore that. I'm good then.
Grants available if it's in state layout.
We can look at that. Right now, if we get the design done, then we can look at what the cost, get a cost estimate with the design.
Okay.
And then the rest. And then that will also dictate, all right, this might not be feasible based on the cost, the conditions, the soil. So more than likely there'll be some borings, figure out how stable the ground is around there if you were to put something in. Things like that you typically do when you're working around a river. So.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
So how soon can we get the engineering process started?
I'll have it started tomorrow.
Okay.
great.
So with the old launch, what is the status of the old, boat launch from Park Street? Where is
So
that
the old boat
currently?
launch was part of a program with DCR and the towns and HVA.
Yeah,
And right now, right now, we're exploring the concept of using that boat launch now at the kayak launch at the boat launch up at.
at the boat launch.
The actual boat launch.
Okay,
The town had appropriated some funds and we're working with DCR on the possibility of redesigning that area where people launch kayaks right now. Because they specifically asked what we're doing with that, because that was done with a grant. The grant was actually I believe it was to the HVA.
yeah,
At the time. The Tonic Valley Association.
but I think it was gifted to the town,
I think
right?
it was gifted to the town at one point, but under a grant, yeah. So, working with them on possibility of using it up there as part of a better kayak launch at the boat ramp.
Okay, and then we had talked about maybe using it on a lake, what is it? The
Lake Drive?
Lake Drive? Yeah, Lake Drive,
Well, we
right?
talked about using that boat ramp at the town beach,
Oh, yeah,
we were gonna go through the Phragmites to the right of the beach and then have the boat launch, the kayak launch there.
Right, well, we changed
But
everything.
then because of Hugh's idea of shifting the boat ramp, the kayaks to the other side so people could launch not in the swim area to the left side.
Right.
Then that wasn't needed. Because if you remember, we had the visit with conservation and the rest, and then it was decided to try
Yeah,
Hugh's idea, which I think, everything I heard is that worked well.
yeah, but I thought that because, you know, we didn't want to add, I don't think we want to add any more kayak racks
Right.
to the beach, so I know we were gonna explore maybe doing overflow kayak racks on Lake Drive.
Is that the outlet?
Yeah, the outlet.
Yeah. There's still a possibility, if you remember, we did have Foresight look at that.
Yeah.
And it would be, we have to figure out, you can't have people walking up and down an earthen dam, because it could actually cause damage to the.
Right, so then that's where the
So that
launch would
cause
come
whether or
in.
not there would need to be a cement, no, you were looking
Oh.
at, again, a cement walkway up, down to the water, out onto the water in order to properly launch from that area,
Okay,
so.
and where is it, like, where is actually the launch right now?
We hauled it up, highway hauled it up, we pressure washed it and put it to the right at the boat ramp. As you go down the boat ramp, you'll see it to the right where the fence is.
It's at the boat ramp right
It's at the
now?
boat ramp.
Okay,
Instead of where it was before at the park.
at the park, yeah,
They get DCR, right, request us move it out of there.
okay.
That was under their request.
Okay, number 2, upcoming spring maintenance, I think was yours.
Okay, so we talked about last year how we need to get on top of the things that we will have in the spring, right? So ordering new mulch and power washing the playground equipment, possibly, any like, I don't know if we had plans to replace any of the playground equipment at Averick. But that would, we could start thinking about that, but, benches, oh, did I put benches as something separate? Yeah. No, I didn't. Did I?
I think that was all part of
Okay.
equipment, so.
Yeah.
Oh, no, new equipment purchases is next.
If we needed to pressure wash the Adirondack chairs or fix any of the Adirondack chairs or order new Adirondack chairs, that kind of thing. I don't know, whatever, I mean, I can't think of everything. I can't remember everything. I know that we talked about having Peretti do like an annual cleanup of the tennis courts, like a maintenance of the tennis courts. I don't know if that is supposed to happen in fall or spring, maybe both. But he said when we talked to him, it was like gonna be $500.
Didn't we get money, didn't we have money put in at one of the town meetings or something for maintenance for the tennis courts after they were done? We're supposed to be getting them maintained every year, is what he said when we
Once they're
talked to him.
finished.
All right, I can easily reach out to him and ask him for a maintenance plan, especially because they redid, this court's all been redone
Right.
this last year.
I think one of them has some issues where something's lifting on it, and I don't know if it's the basketball court or the tennis court. I don't remember being on the tennis court recently, so I think it might be the basketball court, might have some of the surface lifting a little bit.
I wasn't aware of this basketball court.
So we should have.
Yeah, when we met with him initially, he said, I can't remember if it was once or twice, and I don't remember what time of year, but he said that they would come out, you know, pressure wash the entire thing and then do patching for any kind of cracking or movement, and they would kind of fill and patch, and then they would fix any like fence holes and just make sure that they don't get to the point where they need to be resurfaced all over again. And they could just do little maintenance things here and there that will keep them from getting to the point that they were at before. And he recommended doing that annually. So I don't know I don't know if we should reach out to him
I
or,
could ask him easily for the maintenance, what it would take to maintain the park here, because the tennis courts and all that were just recently
Right.
all fixed, patched, you know,
Yeah.
resurfaced and
So-
glass, so.
yeah, we want to make sure they stay nice and,
Sure.
have Christine reach out, we're doing an evaluation, and get some kind of something set up. We'll get different avenues and options for you.
Okay.
That makes sense.
I think he just offers a maintenance plan where, I believe he said it was $500, but that was a few years ago too.
Yeah, that's easy. Yeah, that one's very simple.
So yeah,
What about,
I think I just fired off a ton of stuff, but
what about pressure washing the swimming decks?
The what?
The swimming decks, when we were installing them last summer, we noticed that they were pretty grody, so maybe we should
Yeah.
get to a regular habit.
I mean, yeah, so
Pressure washing.
once it's spring, not in the winter, but once
No, in the
it's
spring,
yeah.
yeah.
But anything that we
Can you
can-
bring them over to the highway garage and,
We got water there, it'll be easier to bring a pressure washer right there.
okay, in the spring, once it's turned.
Right, when I did the playground there, was it last year, year before?
2 years ago.
Yeah,
But it's still like, it was so gritty that, like, I think it needs to be like scrubbed in some places, but just remove all the mildew and the growth and then some of the swings really need to be tightened at the top, the nuts and bolts of the swings. I don't know if that's something that you guys can do, but.
So what's the status of your crew now? Do we have somebody that's specifically working with parks?
Not somebody specifically working for parks, we just kind of,
So can we get somebody to go around to the 4 different parks and check all of the playground equipment and maybe either make a list of stuff? I think we should, it's been, 4 years, I think, since we bought any swing set seats, right? I think we changed some
I
of the
think we
baby
got-
seats 4
yeah.
years ago.
I think they're still in good condition though.
Are they?
Yeah, I think they're like, we got the nice thick rubber
Right, but
one.
the other, the older ones still, maybe just check the seats on the swings. If they're cracked, we should replace them. Oh, and we have a seesaw, right? Don't we have a seesaw for the beach?
yes, you do.
Okay.
So yeah, new mulch, we should, if we can, I don't know how long it takes to order that, but last time I remember we were too late with that. And it was like a lot late, like I would like to get the mulch in early spring because it gets so muddy and then the ticks get really bad. And so if we could get like a cedar mulch that keeps the ticks
Gotta be the
out.
playground.
Playground mulch, you can't exceed the mulch.
Yeah.
I think that they do have a playground cedar. I thought they
Just
did.
the color, but it's gotta be right.
The playground mulch, what it means, it's just untreated.
It's untreated.
But if you're getting it with state contracts, then it has to be, from a provider that's on the contracts. So, yeah, it just has to be untreated. So I don't know, I mean.
I think you can choose your wood species.
Choose what?
Your wood species. I think you can get playground mulch made out of cedar.
I don't think you can. I've been looking into this a lot.
Really?
Yeah, because Pine Woods is putting in a new playground, so I've learned a lot about the mulch situation. It's really, most of the people on contracts that do mulch, it's one type of mulch. You don't really get like an array of it. It's called playground mulch and it's untreated, so there's no chemicals in it. And generally speaking, you have to have like a certain depth too.
Yeah, we know, yes, we
Yes.
know all that.
But I haven't seen any like cedar playground mulch.
What about changing over to rubber mulch? Are a lot of towns using?
We're gonna have a
The
BRP.
initial cost is huge on that, but then
Yeah.
the long-term cost is less.
But do we have to, we don't have to do all the playgrounds at once, right? I mean, we could start with one and then,
I've heard really
environmental.
like horror stories about rubber mulch and yes, we're in like floodplains and
Yeah, the environmental impact is not so good.
and I've heard like that there's chemicals that leach and
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
We're having a BRPC meeting. I think it's next week. Anyway, I'll bring mulch up at that meeting and that gets us in our bid into
okay.
maybe they have something and we can put it on our.
Yeah, and if we can't get cedar, I mean, I don't know, and maybe we just can't choose anything, but I do remember just one year we got this like really, it wasn't very cool, like it was kind of spongy and more dirt-like, and then there's ticks in it. And then if you get the more chunky kind, that's
Okay.
supposed to keep the ticks out. So I don't know, maybe you can't choose it, but
Playground mulch is also the way they break it up in the rest, so you don't have shards that, somebody could get. I don't know if the town before was ordering playground mulch or not, but
Yeah.
we would order playground compliant mulch,
Yeah,
however we're doing it.
okay.
And one thing else I'd like to add to that, hopefully this year we can like actually remove that mulch, it's probably broken down, put down some kind of membrane and put new on it.
To get
Are
the-
we
keep
gonna
the
look at
weeds?
Edging or no, or just gonna? What's your thoughts on edging or?
The edging, I'm hesitant to do because I feel like if we do a plastic edging, it always just cracks. And then it's more maintenance, and I don't know how much more work it would be to do, or money it would be to do a different kind of edging, but then like, where do we stop the edging? I don't know.
I mean, I don't know, it would, I don't think it's a need and
It's kind of a
expense.
tripping hazard too with kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm thinking about this playground in particular, and Averick is like, there's a bunch of little things away from each other, except for that one big playground, but then we have like the little horses separate, so I don't know, I think that's probably not that necessary to do the edging.
I agree.
I think the fabric would be good if we can do the fabric without edging,
Like a road mat or something underneath?
right? To keep it in place and keep it from mixing with the mud underneath.
And I think there's certain spots that's particularly weedy. I haven't really noticed that many weeds in this big equipment area. This area over here with the big structure.
I've seen a lot of interlaken, but, not so much at this park. I don't, maybe they did put down fabric or some,
I think it's just so many more applications of mulch maybe.
It could be just that there's a lot more kids over here too than there is at Averick Park.
Yeah.
And the weeds aren't growing.
less sun, more trees are blocking the suns here, so. Yeah. As far as weeding goes, do we have somebody that does that for the parks?
I try to get a guy or summer helpers up there to do it when we got basically time, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
so, it's kind of sporadic, but, kind of see what's in the budget to allow it.
Yeah, if the fabric saves time weeding, then I'm for that.
Yeah, that's money worth spending. Okay,
So can we put that on the list to do then
Yeah.
at mulching time?
I think so. No edging, like a road mat or maybe something that more permanent water can get through it or something. I can research that.
Yeah.
Find out some.
And then just whatever, if we might need to put well, we're supposed to not have to stain the Adirondack chairs, right? They're supposed to be treated, right? So,
I'm only aware of one that was broken. Did you notice any others?
I think two were broken.
Two were broken.
I think there was two.
But
I
only
think there was another
one was like
later on.
very minor broken, so Hugh thought he could fix it, and then one was probably a goner.
Leave one in the bottom for parts.
Do you want to replace
Right.
two, or are you looking to expand more again?
I think we just should replace and maintain at this point. If we probably have enough. Maybe I don't know.
Cause did we buy more Adirondacks? Did we buy a second? Did we buy more of them? Or it was just the initial purchase that we?
You had the initial purchase, then last year you ordered, I can't remember exactly how many you ordered, a couple more Adirondacks.
Did we get more?
A couple more picnic tables.
Okay, so we should
So
probably get a
if you're-
couple more
If you feel like
chairs.
you're good, then now what it'd be is we would just order what's to keep us where we are.
Okay,
So,
all right, well, let's go. Are you done with number two?
what about plastic Adirondack chairs? Like, are you opposed to those? Those are,
I don't see the point because they break and we have these really nice wood ones and it seems like we have plenty. And we also have the budget for really nice, and the ones that we got, like, I feel like the reason that these broke were, like, one of them could probably be fixed, but the plastic ones would break a lot easier, I think.
what if we get wooden ones? Maybe we should get them painted or have some sort of coating on them. Maybe they'll last a little longer.
I don't think they broke because of the finish, because they are treated. We shouldn't have to stain them or paint them. And if we paint them, then we have to paint them every year. I talked to the woman who does Lee Beach, because they have theirs painted, and she said it's a lot of work.
Oh, really?
Repainting
Can't just buy them
those.
like that, or If you buy them.
buy them and
you
then you have to
maintain them.
repaint them.
Oh, wow. I mean, every year? Really? Wow.
They're on the beach, they're heavily used, they're chipping, and you have paint chips and stuff, so I don't know. And they don't look as nice in my, I don't know, the wood
I
looks
know the one I
nice.
saw broken really looked like that somebody either jumped on it. or-
Yeah, I'm sure they do. I mean, there's not,
Like,
One looked like it was.
You've seen these, right? They're like, they're heavy and sturdy.
Oh, yeah, down at the town, yeah, down at the beach.
Yeah, I think that the reason they broke was a weird thing.
They move around, people move around, you go there and they,
they're all in circles. They've got all the picnic tables in a row and,
right. they
Yeah.
move stuff around.
Maybe somebody fell backwards in one or something.
Or the teenagers jumping on them, who knows?
Yeah, I
You
mean,
get cameras for the beach.
I think that since this was like a recent new thing, we should just kind of go with what we
Yeah.
decided on for at least a while until we have more reason to change, but I think we should stick with what we decided.
Yeah, totally. I agree. I was just curious.
Yeah,
okay. So that moves us into new equipment purchases, number 3. So we should order a couple
and did you have
replacement
any
chairs.
questions about number
Or
2?
replacement chairs.
I don't think so. If we're on the beach, I know we had talked about putting some kind of curtain drain in or something. I mean, whatever, is that just down at the end above the beach, is there anything gonna happen there? Or I know there's a lot of ideas being
Is
thrown
it
around.
needed?
Well,
for
that
the
was one of
water.
the things that, what's his name, Broker? That's one of the things that he said that we would have to do if we wanted to put fresh sand on the beach.
Right.
Right.
I'm just questioning that something's still on the,
Is that something you want to do?
well, I don't know, I just throwing it out.
Well,
there.
he
It's
said
gonna
that
take a while.
maybe we would have to do that, but I think that I think we need to explore that with Conservation Commission to make sure, because it seems like we keep doing things that,
I don't, it seems like he
They're never gonna approve-
doesn't
there's no-
actually want to tell us what exactly we need to do. right
maybe we
off.
need to have a
Well,
meeting
just
with
the
them.
reason why I'm asking is I don't wanna wait till
Right,
beach season and somebody
Right.
bring up the question, are we gonna do anything? So I guess that's why I'm asking.
Okay, yeah,
It's gonna take time to do something, is what I'm saying.
I think we should look into
we
it.
should look into beach
do you want to
sand.
reach out to him and ask him if we?
Well, I don't know, I guess I'm asking is, are we gonna do anything, I don't know.
Sure, yes,
I think we need to also have maybe, I don't know if it can be all of us, but maybe we need to attend a Conservation Commission meeting and ask them about.
If you attend as a group, you just need to post it.
Okay,
Or you can go send one individual to the conservation.
and just get like a solid answer of is this ever possible?
Let's see.
Yeah, like, are you guys
I mean,
pulling our
I've
chain
asked him
or?
that before,
Let's all
a
go.
couple times, and
But it might be taking it to the whole that might be why he's hesitant. You might need to get it before the entire conservation and say, we're looking to do X. If we do X, will you allow us to put sand?
Yeah,
I think it was an elevation change or something, wasn't there something, there's a couple ideas floating around.
well, I thought the whole redoing the parking lot grading and drainage and all that was going to take care of it. And
But I think there's that initial bum rush right there at the beach, you know what I mean? Everything, you still got all that slope, everything.
Yeah.
Parking lot this way is headed to that beach, so.
right,
I guess maybe you're right, maybe the first thing is just have a real meeting on it and see if it's even feasible.
yeah. Like, I don't want to put in a lot of work for them to just say no again.
Well, maybe if we all show up at a conservation meeting,
Yeah.
you know?
well, it'll have to be on
Well,
their
we have to
agenda,
put it
right?
on their agenda, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Unless
You
they-
ask to be placed on their agenda, then you'd have to post.
Right.
Park and Rec would have to post it as a meeting also.
It's probably worth getting us some answers.
All right, so who's gonna do that? I don't want to wait.
I think it would be this.
Okay, perfect.
And
we'll carry it on.
Are you gonna do that, Nicole?
I can reach out to them.
Yeah.
So I had one more thing really quick for the maintenance, if that's okay.
Yeah,
The new plants that got planted, do we need to, come spring, do we need to do anything to make sure that they survive, or
look at them.
summer?
See if they
Like, do
survive,
we
I
need to
don't know.
water them in summer, or?
We
Do
should, I mean, they're
anything?
perennials and shrubs, maybe if it's a really dry
Yeah,
year, but
but they should
it's a
just.
pretty
be
wet
good to
spot,
go.
there's a lot of water coming out of that hillside there, washing across.
I mean,
that.
usually there's no problem with rain and,
It's by design, it's wet in there, you know, you have a
Right.
water yard and then you got, like you said, everything is pitched with runs and culverts into there. That's
Right.
on this green space.
I think we'll just keep an eye on it and see what everything looks like. I mean, Is somebody gonna go around that once in a while with a weed whacker or something, or just keep it down?
Exactly.
So,
New
new
equipment.
equipment purchases. We had talked about getting some new benches last year, and then the money got used for something else. I don't remember what it was, but,
Well, I
so,
think it was the type of bench too.
right. The curved one, and I guess they're 6 feet, not 8 feet, I guess. We could,
You just want to find what bench will work.
yeah, it was
Belson.
Belson was the
But
company.
I can find the exact one and I can try
Just shoot
to
it to me,
send it to
or
you.
not, however many you need order. So,
This is for where, the beach or?
Well, we wanted to put a few more at the playground over here.
Averick Park, was there one at Averick?
I can't remember. I think now there's 2 picnic tables and maybe 2 benches there, but I don't remember.
those require,
What's that?
those benches require a cement pad.
No, nothing's on a pad right now.
No, just free sand. Yeah,
Um,
you send me, because you guys haven't, I don't believe you spent anything on this year's budget yet.
no.
Yeah, I think we could use 2 more benches over here, especially now that the bleachers are gone. We could put another bench. And we did talk about also, oh, Nick and I talked about at the last meeting, if you had forms of the old benches that used to be there, the concrete forms with the wood, because I saw a new one along the trail. Do you still have those?
Years ago.
Okay,
Do you have the forms?
you have the
We
forms?
do now. Harold French had the form and he gave it back to the highway, so now.
So-
we have it.
Is that an option then to do the old style bench? Because when we ordered all these black benches, we didn't think that that was an option.
Options up to you, your committee, I mean, do what you want, right? As far as
They
Would
just,
you rather have the highway build 4 benches or, that'll be around their availability to get them done. I don't know how long they take.
But that would be a right now kind of project, right?
Yeah.
Winter project. I would-
Yeah,
yeah, and it'd be a lot cheaper.
yeah.
I mean, how many you want?
I was thinking
Dozen.
2 more over here, but I would love that, that bench that faces nothing at the playground over here and it's like on a steep hill?
Okay.
It's right by the rocking horses
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
I think we should get rid of that bench. It's so past its prime. And so everybody who sits on it sits sideways to look at the playground.
So, I mean, how many, we have money in our budget, so, I mean, why don't we get 5 or 6 of them made and we can figure out where to scatter them around? I mean,
Yeah.
benches are always a good thing to have. I mean,
Absolutely.
what about just along in front of the park there on Main Street? There's one there now? You could put another one outside the playground. fence.
Outside the playground?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
I
one.
may think you can pull off, if you have the money for.
I'll do the best I can. I mean,
Let's shoot for like 4 and
um,
that's not overzealous. That wouldn't be too many that is just laying around. We could definitely find a spot for that.
If they're easy to make and you're flying through them, if you can get 6 done, even better.
Can you make narrow ones? Can we do chairs too?
Sofa?
Park chairs, how luxurious.
yeah.
Adirondack chairs?
All right, so, and what do you want for boards? Pressure treated, cedar's gonna be expensive, I mean,
Whatever will last. Is pressure treated really toxic? Is that,
If you eat it,
they chew on it.
Yeah,
but it doesn't like,
what most things are, so.
yeah, I mean, it's not gonna be any more toxic.
Everything else we've done has been pressure treated. We did the sandbox and,
There you go.
and, the spinny thing over at Everett Park got replaced with PT, and I say we just go with that.
gosh, is a sandbox now super toxic?
Not unless you eat it.
Well,
And the sand is probably.
I'm not gonna say
toxic.
kids don't eat sand in the sandbox, cause it happens.
And also Harold Mr. French had a couple boxes of the inserts of the stainless molds and he gave them back to highway, so shout out for him for that, so.
Oh, say, well, thank you.
It'll just be the wood, concrete, there's probably still some 1/2-inch 4-bar over by the shed I can use up, so. Try to keep the cost low as we can for it.
Do you use bar in it or mesh?
I use rebar, yeah. gotten the shape, well, that's what I did last time, got 2 rows, shape it a form and put them in there, so.
I think we should shop for a new seesaw for Averick because the seesaws at Averick right now are terrifying. Yeah, terrifying.
Do we have access to larger? That's a larger one, right, than the one that was over at the beach?
Yeah, there's a couple different designs, so if you want to look at the point, one of you,
Is there somewhere that we have an account with already that we can
there's
purchase?
a couple places.
That we already have an account?
Yeah. there's
Landscape
lots of
structures is,
Options out there, yeah.
yeah.
You get an idea of what, for a 2-4 person, multi-direction, if you look on for those type of things, there's tons of options.
There's really fun
Give
things
us
too,
an
like we
idea
don't
what
have to
options there
do.
are, we can reach out to.
They have like the little things that have bicycles and you can like ride around in a circle on a little bicycle. They have really cute things that we
Right,
can
but what's
replace
there
it
now?
with.
What are we replacing? There's a
There's
double
these
ones, right?
humongous, like so tall metal seesaws that every mom just despises.
I loved them as a kid.
I'm serious. I've done multiple birthday parties over there and every mom's like, not the seesaws.
Is that ever?
Yeah.
And I guess you didn't grow up in the
Seesaws,
80s.
Once they come out, they won't go back in anywhere else.
Oh,
They're not, as long as they're like old swings. Once you take them out, you've got to put modern, new
Yeah.
design swings.
I-
Same thing with those seesaws.
I mean,
Yeah,
So let's
there's
make
some
them
things
up.
I'm
They're-
sentimental about. There's some things I'm like, okay, let's just keep it. But those I'm okay with.
I love that park for that reason. It's like, one of the
Yeah.
last standing parks that.
Yeah. I don't want to modernize it too much,
Is it, are
but
they broken? Or do you just want to replace them because they're tall? I mean, what's the reason? What's the reason? Because if it's just because they're tall, I don't want to replace them just because they're tall, because I grew up with tall ones and they grew up
We
with
all
tall ones.
survived.
And we all survived. It's not.
I mean, I'm sure there's some that didn't survive.
But if you want to add a lower one, if you would like to add a lower one, I would be,
A smaller
a
option.
smaller one, I
Yeah.
would be up for that.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
the bigger kids can use the bigger ones and the smaller kids can use the smaller.
Yeah, I mean, we should have that surveyed and see if they're broken. See if they get broken in the next.
I'm gonna go have somebody look at all that stuff to make sure.
Yeah, yeah,
But
well, Yeah,
yeah, I agree. I think we should have a smaller option for sure, because, you have the little
Is there a
kids.
small one there already though?
I don't think so.
No, there's a small swing set, right? There's a red one or something.
Yeah, and there's
for little kids.
And there's-
So maybe we could put the little one over by the little swing set.
Yeah.
If we get a small one.
yeah.
What did we have taken out there when we put the swings in? There was something that got removed from that side, wasn't there?
I don't remember anything.
Or maybe it was just the swing set I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
That was pretty decrepit. So can you send a couple options for some smaller, or what about just the one that we're doing
I
at the
think what
beach?
you guys tell us,
We'll go online and look at some of the seesaws and we can compare notes and, pick something fun and cute. I did have, one thing to add to the new equipment list, backboards. So, I know we were talking about new backboards for the basketball court. I know when I did my online survey when I was running, I had gotten a lot of feedback about the basketball backboards, that we could really use some new ones, and I agree. There, on the FAC 104 contract, for contractors, I did find one contractor, called True Bounce. He did send me a quote, for getting all 4, backboards done at Pine Street and here. And I just forwarded that to you guys if you want to take a look at it. But, what do we need? 2 bids for the procurement process?
depends on what's in that contract. So if you go to a section, how to use the contract under that FAC. FAC 104, you'll see that there's a section that says how to use this contract.
Okay.
And it might say that you need to get 3 quotes, it might say for under 10, 50,000 or whatever, it depends. Once it's a state contract, they each have their own rules. When we ordered laptops, it said as long as you weren't ordering more than 100, you could just order from whichever vendor you wanted.
Okay,
And that, so it tells you how to use the contract, it's right in the front of the contract.
okay.
I can take a look at it too, so we can
Okay.
just compare notes to make sure that we're doing Because once he gave you a price, you'll know where it fits within the contract.
Yeah, I asked him to include, some information on all the contracts that he's on, if there's more than one. So that way, you know, we can play with which one. But they're really nice. If you go to truebounce.com, you can check it out. You can actually, you know, I was looking, so the ones I'm looking at, were the, polycarbonate. So that's a lot of the basketball players that I talked to about what they'd want. They all said polycarbonate. It's just more modern looking, and the bounce is much better than, say, if you know, hit the ball against the metal. It bounces back too quickly, and you don't really, it's not really regulation for, like, say, some of the high school kids that play. You know, it's not the regulation size backboard, and it doesn't really have the same play. So I think, if we can put in something that, you know, looks nicer and also is more regulation for the kids that do play, seriously, I think we'll probably have a lot of more people using our basketball courts. So, yeah, so I'll forward that to you, Michael.
Can we have this put on the town meeting? Can we get money for this from town meeting instead of using our budget?
Depending on what the cost is. What would it be?
14,000 for both courts, both ends of both courts,
Right.
including installation.
Including installation, so that 14,000, you might be able to have it right in your budget to do.
Right, but then that doesn't leave us.
You're heading to the end of the year anyway, so if we're ordering stuff now for installation in the spring, you've got a budget, you might as well use it. It's
Yeah.
already done.
When's the new,
July 1st, you have a budget.
oh, yeah, so,
I mean, you're ordering stuff now for the spring, which is good. We talked about this before, about staying one season ahead. We're in winter, we should be talking about the spring.
Right.
When we get into the spring, we're gonna be talking about the summer, so.
We do have a door coming out that way, the garage door.
I was just gonna ask about that.
Yeah, I should why we're in the beach, but.
Right, plus
So we'll figure out, I'll take the doors, I'll take this 14,000, and I'll send all three of you where the budget would be.
Okay. It looks, so there's two quotes on there. The second one, there's an explanation there. It looks like it, and the second one is just bigger steel for the mast, it looks like.
Oh,
So, I mean, the way people use stuff, I think we'd be better off going, they're single pole ones versus the double pole that's there. So probably the more expensive one would be more rugged than the lesser expensive one.
so which one do you want me to just, I'll work off the more expensive one. And that way you guys can see what's in your budget, what's remaining, and then what
Right.
you want to take as far as.
The 14,000 was the more expensive one, the better, stronger one.
What's in your budget for replacement,
For what?
your replacement of equipment?
is that a different budget?
I don't know.
Hey, park and rec budget. I'll send it to all you guys tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I don't know.
If I remember, you,
Because I think, didn't we use some of our budget though to finish paying for the beach parking stuff? Because,
yeah, but I think most of that is why we ran out of money last year's budget. I don't think we spent.
no, but like we had the plants were all paid for out of that.
Guessing. I'll go run it.
Okay.
All right,
Wait,
but we do need you for this next item.
Alright. Or is there an item you can skip to and give me?
Well, I want one more
Only take me
thing.
a couple minutes to pull up your budget.
Okay.
Okay, we'll skip it and come back.
Yeah, if there's anything you can.
Okay, so let's go to 5.
Okay, so the Pine Street playback wall mural, that was you?
Yeah, so I just wanted to run that by you guys again. If that's something that, since we're sprucing everything else up, in town, I think it would be nice to add some color to the park and, you know, might cause a little buzz in town, but I think it would be a nice use of that space. I mean, I've had people say, oh, you know, why don't we just take it out? Nobody's using it, but then I've also talked to people who say they do use the playback wall to play tennis by themselves, or practice hitting. So, I think we should keep the playback wall, but if we're gonna keep it, you know, maybe we could brighten it up a little bit, so.
I have a question about the playback wall. Because would it be, for the people who actually use it as a playback wall, would it be useful to have some kind of like lines on it to try to hit, do they try to like hit in certain areas? Because if it were like this big busy mural,
Well, just on one side. So the
Okay.
side that's facing the street would be the mural, and on the other side is where they hit.
okay, because that is also a very big eyesore, the area where they hit, right?
No, the area they hit is on the other side of the wall, so you don't even see it unless you walk all the way around to the other side of the park.
But you don't see it from the road.
The part you see from the road is the part that I want to put the mural on.
But I think you
Right.
see the other
So,
side from Main
so-
Street, from,
So if this is Pine Street here, this is the way the thing faces. The basketball court is here and you see that side. If you go around here, like to the
That's where
the
Austin Riggs.
Austin Riggs
can't
side
see
of
it
things.
from Main Street?
No,
I don't know, but I don't think you're talking about putting a mural on that side, right?
no, on the side that's on Pine Street. So the other side is it's facing the Austin Riggs parking lot. I did talk to the director of the Austin Riggs because they actually own that piece of the park. And the playback wall is on their property. So he said he's all for it. And I think I ran a few ideas by you guys last fall about it in terms of what to do with the design. Because we recently had in town the dedication for the natives here, I thought it would be nice to work with them on using that space to give credit to the natives from the area. So it is a little complicated, though, I've learned that, there's a certain process for kind of approaching that idea. There's a lot of respect built into that process. And I don't think the person I contacted was, to do some research, was at Williams College. They have a whole department dedicated for, dealing with Native American spaces and conversations and, projects and things. And I think what I learned from that conversation was that there's a very specific process in how to approach using any kind of symbolism or, sort of wording or even any kind of signage or whatever, with making any reference to Native American stuff. You have to kind of do it in a very specific way. So I'd like to research that a little bit more. And also, did you tell me, Nick, that there was another board, was it maybe Stockbridge Chamber of Commerce also does stuff having to do with, no, it was the Historical Society maybe? Anyway, I think there's another person I could contact and I'm gonna try to see if I can team up with them on that idea and just kind of do some more research on it.
So I'm completely against that.
Okay.
If you want to do flowers or birds or something like that, I'm all for that, but I don't think parks is the place to get involved in any kind of, anything like that personally. So that's my stance on it.
I like the idea.
Yeah, I mean, why not use that space if we're,
I just don't think I don't think we need to be sending any kind of messages. I think we're playgrounds and places for kids, anybody to go and just not, there's plenty of other places where they can go and
like where? In Stockbridge?
I don't know. I'm just against it. So if you guys want to vote yes on it, you can vote yes on it, but I'm not.
I mean, I like that idea but I think that what I feel uncomfortable with is us trying to figure out what's appropriate and painting it ourselves or having us involved in it at all. I think that if we wanted to go down that road, we should just reach out to,
Yeah, I mean,
I think that I would like want it to be out of our hands. I think I would want to just like be like, here's, if this is something that's interesting, please paint our mural
That's what I'm
and then
suggesting,
just have it kind of not be a Parks and Rec thing. We just kind of like volunteer the space for an art mural. And then maybe it's the Stockbridge Muncie tribe that I don't know. I feel like I think that would be wonderful if that happened. But I think that, I wouldn't want to presume or try to figure out what we can do on it. I would want to kind of pass it. pass it on.
Well, I mean, we're in charge of the park space, right? And that is in the, that is within the realm of the park space. So, but it is not, it's not entirely our space, right? So, I did get the okay from Austin Riggs to do something, and that's what I'm suggesting is that I'm trying to find the appropriate, person or persons, group, whatever, to offer them that use of the space.
Yeah, so I think that I was confused is that you were saying like you were trying to research what kind of symbols or what kind of things that we could use on it, but.
No, initially I was like, I learned through that process that there is a very specific process.
Yes, if there's a process that we could reach out and ask if that's something of interest, if they would want to utilize that space in a creative way, I think that would be great.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm suggesting. So can we, should we vote on it so that we can?
Yeah, I think Nick already made his
Okay, so you
vote
said
clear,
no.
so I'm saying yes.
Yeah, okay, great. So I can proceed with like trying to.
If that's okay with, there's no conflict with the town, right, with that?
This is your
No,
guys'
yeah, no,
decision. You're an
no, I think it's up to
elected
us.
board.
Yeah, so I'll just like look into the right person to work with and I'll just keep you abreast of how it's
Okay.
going.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you.
So looking at your budget, so the rest of your equipment, the basketball hoops are too much. So there's two ways to approach the basketball hoops. One, I can put in a CPC application for recreation, for basketball, new basketball hoops.
Okay.
Or we could put in for a free cash appropriation.
So can we do
So we have
CPC then?
30,
CP, what is it, CPC?
Community Preservation Committee,
But it's CPC, that's what it's called?
yeah.
Okay.
so we have $39,000?
Well, you have 14,000 available for expenses.
So is it salary?
Salaries.
Oh,
I've tried that.
and that's just going,
I've tried that too.
you tried to get that?
Not that, we can't touch that.
So that's gonna go away come July. If we
Yeah,
don't
just
use
like
that,
that.
25,000 just,
Yeah.
and so can we explore hiring some maintenance to help out highway?
Can we summer help use that, kind of help pay for some summer bringing, I don't know, I guess that's a question.
Yeah, I mean, we have lifeguards and groundkeepers. There's nothing in the groundkeepers, but as long as the salaries altogether isn't over. Last year, the good thing is right now, I know 2 years ago, this was an issue. We weren't up to full staff. We were having trouble getting summer helps, but that was around last year. We're full staff as far as the highway, and last year we had 4 summer workers. And we had guys up at from the park to the playground to everywhere. So once again, we will use probably another 7,000. We have Brenda goes up and cleans the bathrooms. We have water and sewer that go up and rake the beach every morning. We've got.
And we're paying them.
So that's gonna be from this 25
But
because
only-
that's gonna be summer.
But
So
only
won't we
to
get,
July 1st.
Only the July 1st. So it was only Memorial Day through July 1st, so probably another 3,500 or so will come out of here for what we're using.
okay, so then we could still have like 20 grand ish to pay somebody something. That's like part-time person, right?
Right, so I guess what we're getting at is we either need to get somebody to work for parks that we're paying, or we need to get the line changed so that there's no money in the lifeguard salary anymore and move it to other lines, because it doesn't make any sense to have it.
Right, so that's a decision on your guys' part as to what you want to recommend to the finance committee.
We should
What would you
try,
like to recommend?
Well, I would like to recommend that we have, I mean, what's the line we're out of is site improvements, right? That's negative right now, 951, right?
Yeah,
And then, where's the equipment line?
so.
Purchase equipment still has 9,000,
You have the full 9,000.
right?
And I'm gonna put the basketball hoops through, which one, do you want me to, I'll first approach CPC, and if not, I'll approach free cash. Is
Okay.
that fine with this committee?
If you're fine with doing it with free cash, then,
Yeah, I'll first apply for the CPC funds.
Okay,
That's due February 9th. I'll put in the application for this, on behalf of this committee
okay,
for what the higher quote for the thicker steel and that, and I'll put that in.
okay,
And if CPC is not, I'll pursue then a free cash appropriation.
okay.
See if I can get one of those two appropriated.
Can that line be changed to keepers and equipment? And then if it's not used as keepers, it can always at the end of the year.
Well, the bottom line with equipment, your expenses, individual lines can go under as long as the expense subtotal is positive. So you know how you're 951 short there? From an accounting perspective, we're not concerned about that. As long as your subtotal of expenses is positive, that's okay. So, you know, that's how our departments are all voted by salary and expenses, not individual lines.
Yeah.
So we have departmental budgets, so that allows you to spend within here as long as you don't. So technically, on any of these up there, you have 14,000. But still, like you said, he's got the door coming, so we
Right.
don't have that invoice yet.
That was like
So we're not gonna have
5,000?
enough for the basketball hoops, but I'll approach those, and then everything else we can cover underneath your budget.
Right. So another thing I think I had mentioned to you a while ago is about getting a couple bike racks, maybe?
A couple,
Bike racks?
Yeah.
The stands?
yep.
So- And maybe put like maybe one over at the park, on Park Street. Are you guys okay with
Yeah.
bike racks?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now those, I don't need you, because we're gonna have to put pads down.
Like at the skate park, right?
Yeah, at the skate park area.
Alright,
And I mean, do people ride their bikes to Averitt Park? I don't have any idea.
I think so, yeah.
Or
I
maybe,
think so.
and maybe over at this one,
alright,
you know?
so you want one at each park, you want one at the beach?
Yeah,
Yeah,
So one for each park.
Sure.
yeah.
So I'll get bike racks, we'll get them ordered, those you do have to pour a cement pad for them.
Right.
And bike racks mount.
but let's try to get small bike racks, because I do think it will be kind of silly if we have like a 9-person bike rack and there's only ever
Yeah.
one bike
I
in
mean, they
it.
don't need to be
Yeah,
huge.
you're looking for the,
Like, let's look at like a,
4 or 5.
Isn't there one right out here?
I was gonna say there's one out back. That's-
There's one up, yeah, by the police department.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
you know, 4-person, so it's like two, like they can have one on each side, so it's like two
Yeah, it's four
two
person.
hoops
Yeah.
or something, yes.
Yep. Does somebody wanna select them and let me know, or you want me to just like?
Can we match close to what's out there?
Sure.
Then at least there's some kind of
Oh,
similarity to them.
do they, I don't know if they come in like a forest green, but I forgot to mention it with the backboards. I was thinking like putting a dark forest green stripe just to kind of jazz it up. Stockbridge, I don't know why I think of the color dark green. So maybe we can get the benches to match, like in a forest green color, or
I don't
I can-
know. I think they were only black, weren't they,
are they black?
the
Well,
benches?
Bike
that could
racks?
work
I
too.
don't know about the bike racks. She said benches. I think the benches were only black, but I could be
The
wrong.
benches were black, but the bike racks we can get.
It's possible. I think the one up there is,
You know, they're all.
Isn't that one green?
Okay. Well, I
I mean,
mean,
we could get playground equipment in green from now on.
yeah,
That'd be cute.
I think that would just jazz things up, you
Yeah.
know?
The roof of the beach house is green, right?
Like a
Yeah.
dark green. Yeah, that would be nice.
have you gone in the beach house to see if there's any leaking or anything?
I'll revisit it, I haven't been in there lately, so.
Okay.
Roof's on,
Yeah, blue skylights.
you know, roof, skylights, all the rest.
Oh, I can't.
We have a visitor on Zoom. Should we ask if there's anything that since this is taking kind of a long time?
Oh, yeah. Bad. Well,
I would wait till the end if
Yeah, let's wait till the
it's still
end.
there, because we need to get through the meeting, and like you said, it's an hour now, so.
one comment to what you were saying, Nick. I personally don't want to give up on the idea of having lifeguards. I mean, I know we had a hard time getting them last year, but as a mother of a young child, I think we definitely want to keep trying to get lifeguards. I mean, maybe one will pop out of the woodwork this year, but
We need more than one, though. We can't just have one, so we need 3, right? We need a minimum of 3 lifeguards,
I mean, I
At
could,
least,
at least.
I could maybe,
I don't know if there was a situation in Pittsfield that sort of drew attention to this, where they had, I think it was a couple of years, they basically had people, and I believe it ended up I think it was in the Berkshire Eagle that there was some lawsuits in that, because they had posted that lifeguards would be there during certain hours. Then there wasn't.
Right.
And people sent their kids up there anyway, so it becomes
Right.
that real thing that if you're gonna staff up nowadays, you've gotta staff up, and there just aren't a lot of lifeguards and that. So if you're advertising between this time and then the lifeguards, I know you flipped the sign over, but the argument being made that I understood was that they sent their kids thinking there was lifeguards, and then there wasn't, even though there was staff saying no lifeguards, it's a minor, so it's just very tricky right now. So that's
How much are we paying, or what is what is that position paid? Because I could make, a call to the Boys and Girls Club where they have a lot of like swimmers there. My sister's kids were all swimmers through the Boys and Girls Club. I could just.
Well, that's one of the options that was brought up before about trying to contract with various organizations to see if they could staff us up for lifeguards for.
Or even the high school students, like if there's some kind of certification course that we could, maybe even try to sponsor a couple of the kids who are swimming at Monument. Maybe we can even try to encourage,
We offered to refund the certification of anybody last year, or was it last year?
Oh, okay.
We refunded people's certification already, we did
I
that.
know Steve had advertised and that, coming out of COVID, similar to EMT training and other training, because you're gonna do in-person training, there was no way of, lifeguarding is not one of those things that you could do without in person.
Right.
So what happened is there was a gap, and then, I'm trying to remember the name of the law. So the big change in lifeguarding became when, the law used to read that if a daycare, a camp, or somebody went to a beach, if they went to a beach that had lifeguards, they were covered. Then there was a change in the law, I think it was 5 or 8 years ago. I thought it was Jocelyn, but I'm not sure of the name. But the change is that the person was at a beach and a person drowned even though there were lifeguards there, and the legislature changed the law that every camp, daycare center, or anything else has to have a lifeguard on staff if they're gonna go to a swimming place, even if the place has lifeguards. So what that also created was all of a sudden, all these places needed lifeguards, and that's where it became really hard to
I didn't know that.
get to lifeguarding levels. All of a sudden, a whole category of camps and everything that never worried about having lifeguards had to put lifeguards on their staff, or they couldn't take their kids swimming, period.
Wow.
So,
Well,
it's a big change. I mean, if you guys want to pursue it, it's worth, because at one point, I know in North Haven, we were contracting with the Northern Berkshire YMCA for lifeguards. But then it was starting to become an issue again of availability. And when you say to an organization, if we contract them, we'd be saying we want 2 lifeguards every day from this time to this time, period. And they're gonna have, we've talked about 3 to have that, but if they had an organization, we'd say, we just want 2, and they would send us 2, well, what happens if they can't?
Right.
yeah.
And,
It leaves us open
yeah, so we have to
for
just
liability.
think about what it is, and then, of course,
So what's the alternative? We take the signs down and
just don't have lifeguards.
don't have
So there's
lifeguards,
no
and
risk.
we'd have to take the signs down too, right?
We don't have signs.
Oh, we don't.
No, it says no lifeguard on duty.
Oh, I thought, okay. I thought there was.
There's no hours for lifeguards.
Yeah, we don't have hours or anything. So it's one of those things, a lot of places have moved to it, pools have all moved to it when you go to, if you remember back in the day, every pool had a lifeguard, and now they're all pretty much swimming at their own risk.
Wow.
And the last year that we had lifeguards was the year before I got here, and I know you had that summer a number of complaints about them on their phones, and they paying attention to the water, things like that. And they've generally found that the liability actually, there's a duty of performance that lifeguards have to live up to, and
Right.
and it's oversight.
Because it's on us if they're out there looking at their phone, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, just so I know, some people just don't have common sense, and I worry about especially small children or parents who are going to the beach and they're feeling, really laid back about things, and then they're just not paying attention. So I don't know if it would be helpful to just put a couple more little signs, like foldings, wooden signs, just saying swim at your own risk, just to
We
kind of,
can look at better signage for up there, make sure there's adequate
Is it-
signage.
yeah,
One of the things I can do is bring the insurance company up there, and they have what's called a risk assessment team that they'll come up and look at it, and they'll say, yeah, we think you should have X signs, and here's where they should be to minimize any exposure on the town side.
So you know where the lifeguard stand is?
Yeah.
So there's like a big sign that says no lifeguards swim at your own risk. But after that lifeguard stand, it's a little tricky about signage because if you wanted to put a sign, you'd have to like put a big pole with a sign because there's nothing to attach a sign to after that.
like if you had one that folded out like that, like you would.
Like on the beach?
Like on a wet, yeah, like on a wet, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just,
Usually you put them at the entranceway, so you put them from the parking lot as you're coming in.
yeah, that
You might
too.
put them on
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think that if you put something like that on the beach, kids are just gonna like mess around with it and play
I
with
mean,
it.
it's only 20 feet from the water. You can't get much.
I will tell you this, there's probably a good likelihood if we don't have lifeguards and I bring up a risk team, one of the things they're gonna tell you to do is remove the lifeguard stand. Because it's considered an attractive nuisance. And if it's more than 24 inches, I believe it is, that
Yeah, but I don't think that like, if we're not, I don't think we need to have a stance on not having lifeguards. Like, that can always change in the future. There could be a whole new committee who's like, let's have lifeguards. Or I guess, we aren't opposed to lifeguards, but all of a sudden there might be an abundance of lifeguards and they want to have lifeguards, so you'd want to have a stand.
right, we could just take the stand off, put it somewhere, the stand.
It is in concrete though.
You'd have to remove the concrete base, and then if we ever had it back, you'd pour a new concrete base
I
and put the
think
stand
that's-
back up. Right now, what you have is what's called an.
Let's just not have a risk
attractive
assessment.
nuisance,
Yeah, we'll just
that's
avoid
off.
the risk assessments. Yeah,
I forget how high that one is. It's not super high,
no.
but it is high enough.
You should have seen the last one. Oh my gosh, the last one was twice as high. That was crazy.
Yeah.
And on a hill.
Oh, boy.
Let's move on. If that's okay. It's getting late.
Concessions at the town beach.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to revisit.
Oh, we have to go back. We missed one, sorry.
What? Oh, the kayak rack.
Kayak racks, because people are starting to get antsy in their pantsy about kayak racks.
So what do we do about the people who want low racks that may not necessarily be handicap,
But
but they, for a variety of reasons, want a lower rack?
So everything we're doing right now is all by lottery. When people put in, and for kayak racks, we draw the people that get the racks. If we have more people that applied for the lower racks than we have available, then we do a lottery on who gets the lower racks.
So do you have a separate lower rack grouping of?
What we first do is we draw, so I forget how many we have. How many do we have? All right, let's say we have 50 up there. We draw for the first 50 names.
Yeah.
We use actually a program to randomize and give us 50 names.
So that's the pool of people who actually get
Those 50
them.
are getting racks. Then we go through and anybody that requested a lower rack, if they requested a lower rack, we say we have 15 lower racks. If we have less than 15, everybody that requested it gets a lower rack. If we have more than the amount of lower racks, then we do, once again, a lottery on those people that requested the lower. If you get it, you get a lower rack. If you don't, then you get assigned to one of the other ones.
Is
So
it,
It's as open and fair as we can make it here.
well,
is there a way on the application to ask them for reason for needing a lower rack being medical or age? Could we do age? And like if they are senior,
yeah, we had a 90-year-old woman come and ask if how we can try to make it more possible for somebody like her who's in the water a lot, who still kayaks, to have access without mean, she said she had a problem with her shoulder, but, otherwise she's physically able to get out there.
You're gonna have young people that have issues with shoulders if we're
Oh, yeah.
opening for medical reasons.
I know. Well, that's what we said.
If they're requesting a lower rack, they request a lower rack. We
But
don't
I think a
get
medical
who, what,
exemption
why
should
they're
be,
doing it. and-
Can we get a doctor's note that gives them
I'm
favor?
not collecting if this committee wants to do it, you guys can do it. I'm not collecting doctor's notes on people's medical conditions. They can ask for a lower rack. If the lottery draws them to get a lower rack, or like I said, not as many people apply for a lower rack, then they'll all get it.
Can we
But
put
you only have
something
so
on
many
the,
lower racks, and typically you have more people than you have lower racks.
can we put something on the application that says, please only select a lower rack if you have a medical condition or you are above the age of 70? Can we say something like that on the application, just so that maybe those people who are fully capable
Send me
will
what you'd
think
like to put on
twice?
the rack, and I'll run it by the.
Okay,
How's that?
that sounds good.
So-
We said we would try,
Yeah.
I think it's totally well within, our powers as Parks and Recs commissioners to do at least that. We can write that on the application.
But you can put it there and I'll check with legal if you.
Right, because we could be discriminating against
Right.
other people.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm concerned about, right?
Yeah.
I just ask them if they'd like a lower rack, for whatever reason. Right.
Yeah, we usually say, please only check this box if you have a medical reason or if you are above the age
I'm
of.
just not sure if you can have that, I think you could definitely put something, please only ask for this rack if needed, period.
Yes,
So-
and it's a request, it's not saying they can't.
Right, because you'd be
It's just a
discriminating against somebody who's
request. Like, I'm not-
69.
Yeah,
I
and I'm
know
not-
I've seen like organizations do that where, they say things like, oh, if you're over this age or, you have a medical reason. I know I've seen things like that.
Right, so
I might even-
however you would like to write it up, send it to me, I will ask legal, if legal says it's okay, we'll throw it up. How's that?
I'll look into a couple other maybe Parks and Recs departments around to see if they have some kind of system.
Okay, do you want to look into that then, and then maybe you can email it to me?
I don't
Yeah.
think any other towns have kayak slots for,
Well,
People-
on the
well,
eastern part
Monterey
of the
does.
state. Yeah,
They do.
Monterey. I can call Monterey, but I know on an eastern part of the state where people use kayaks all the time, I'm sure that they have some
is
system.
there any language in there telling them that they need to remove their kayaks by a certain date?
Yes,
Is there any penalty for them not removing their kayaks by that certain date?
not sure.
Can we specifically say in there that if it is not removed by a certain date, we are going to remove it?
We're gonna confiscate your
Something.
boat.
I mean, we don't want to be boat storage
Sell
now, but we can't have, there were a few kayaks left there, yeah, and we can't have them sitting there getting snow on them.
They could
And
break
then
the
they break.
racks.
Right, oh yeah, no,
No.
and even if they're upside down, if they fill with water, if they're not
Right.
taking, like I said,
Right.
so, yeah, absolutely, we can ask, if I remember right, Teresa contacted the people that had them on. And right, if they fail to remove by a certain date, then they'll be disposed of.
Right.
Definitely, we're not required to keep their kayaks.
And then,
We could take them
well,
to
I
the
thought they had,
donations
I thought they had to be
at the
auctioned
dump.
or something like that, was what you were
Yeah,
saying
there's
with it.
something there in the police, I'll check that because, right, if we find something that's abandoned, then it has to be abandoned for 1 year, but these aren't abandoned, these are,
Right.
they have an agreement with us on when they'll remove them. by.
Exactly. So even some language like, if you don't take it off, you won't get another spot next year.
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Mhm.
I don't see why not.
So
Because some
maybe,
people
can you
don't care.
send
Did
us,
we have I'll find I'll Teresa send tomorrow.
The application?
The application is,
And then the other thing is too, if we have people that are leaving them on the ground, they should lose their spot too, because it's, I believe it says not to put them on the ground. And we had several people that just left them on the ground,
all right,
not caring. We had one guy that I think he paid for one spot or he paid for two spots, but he had 3 boats up there. So there has to be some consequences for people who aren't gonna follow the rules and,
right, and I don't see why we couldn't hold
Mm-hmm.
it against somebody for breaking the rules, then you won't be allowed.
can we put a line in there that says if any of the rules are broken, you will immediately lose your spot?
and then we'll have a separate list with those people's names, so that if once the lottery comes through,
Yep.
Well, but then we could give the spot to somebody who's gonna use it and follow the rules. That's,
Right.
you know,
Well, I mean, we don't want to get into policing the kayak racks so much either, and
well, somebody has to though, because they get in the way and they block other people from getting to their kayaks. That's the main problem.
That's why
Leaving them
we
on the ground.
need that
Yeah, well, the
salary
thing with the
for a
ground is
maintenance person.
I think, I mean, considering that we haven't really implemented anything yet, but I mean, for example, if you had somebody who had, got assigned a higher rack, but they don't have the ability to lift the rack, like if they want to go out by themselves, but they need two people to
But
lift
then
their
they
kayak.
shouldn't take their space then. They should look for somewhere else to store it if they can't keep it on their higher rack. They can't just leave it on the ground.
Well, I'm just saying, I think that once we, we come up with some sort of ADA compliant language for people who have medical issues or can't, lift above their head kind of thing, I think that'll probably take care of at least the kayaks on the ground, because I assume, at least some of those people are doing it because maybe they don't have the strength to lift over their heads or don't have another person there.
Maybe, but I think we should still have that in our application. Maybe that will solve the problem, but we can still have, do not leave your kayaks on the ground, otherwise it will be confiscated, because when there are kayaks on the ground, not only is it a tripping hazard, people can't get to their boats, but then maybe other people think that they can just leave their boats there that don't have
Yeah.
a permit.
I agree, we should definitely have
We
something.
should,
in
there's no reason, yes, maybe that will solve the problem, but there still could be the language in, there's no harm in having the language in there. And whether or not we police it, it doesn't matter if we put that in the contract.
I actually do check it occasionally.
You can be the
because
police.
They're
the
just,
kayak
I mean,
police.
you guys gotta mow around it, and when there's boats there, you can't mow around it, and
That could just be a communication thing, to make sure. I didn't realize we were having a problem with that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I thought the ones that were left, we called and they took them out. I wasn't, there's no.
it must have been fairly late. I think there is one. It's not on the rack, it's behind the rack now, I think, at least it was last week anyways, I think.
Oh, right.
And then the other thing, we need, because I was looking for ones that were laying on the ground to find out whose they were, and there was no tags on them. So some people just have them in sandwich bags, some people don't have them at all. I think we need to get them actually laminated this year with some, give them a wire tie to do it so they can actually fasten it to their boat. And it has to stay there because we have no way of knowing whose kayaks they are.
Good idea too.
If they don't have the tag on
We
it.
used to have those little plastic tags and zip ties that Steve used to hand out with the permits on them.
I mean,
think they're in the
I'm happy to
garage.
laminate them. I have a laminator and I've got small pouches. I can laminate them. I don't care about that. But we have to do something different because you just don't, I had no ideas who they were. There was one of them that had a tag, and like I said, I think it was in a sandwich bag or something, and it, they get wet and
Well, the
then they're
easiest thing,
junk.
if we have ones that are up there and we're not sure and they're on the ground, we just drag them up, put them in the shed, then wait till somebody calls us and say,
Yeah.
hey, where's my kayak? And then we
Yeah.
go, oh, by the way, here's your kayak, and put it on your rack.
And as long as we have a working lock on the garage door where people can't just
Well,
come
which we're
in.
gonna have, so.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We can drag the
When
boats.
is that happening?
I know Christine reached out to them not too long ago to do a follow-up, and I think you're just waiting for the door to come in, to be honest with
We
you.
already contracted.
It's up, it's,
Overhead door.
Doors, yeah. So we've already contracted everything, it's just waiting for the installation.
Okay.
So I think the easiest thing for ones on the ground is just notifying that, because we're not stealing them, but just have, if we see one that's been left out there, slide it up and put it in the shed. I'm sure we'll get a call here, and then it's very easy
Right.
for us to say,
Who
The
are
problem is that
you?
sometimes they still lock them to the rack, but they're laying on the ground.
Oh, yeah, cut the
we can
lock.
take care of that too. We can leave some bolt covers.
Well, if we can leave, yeah.
There, yeah. Leave them in the
Not following
garage.
rules, we cut it, we
Right.
put it in there.
I just think we need some language about following the rules, and if they don't follow the rules, they lose it. And
Yep.
Or they lose their permit for the year or something.
Okay.
Okay, so concessions? Sorry.
Oh, yeah, so I still want to look into that. I didn't get very far with it last year.
So do you want to save it for another?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's do it. I'll look into it.
Town-sponsored recreational activities, that was yours also.
Oh, okay, so let me just write a note here.
I'll go to number 8 while you're doing that. So Mr. Broker from Conservation, he called me last week. National Grid has like 48 or 50 little trees that they have to plant that they couldn't plant somewhere for whatever reason. So he suggested maybe planting some around the parks, like down by the water, down there where there's already some. He had mentioned about you might be taking the fencing out down along the river there or something and planting some down there.
I also,
And we also talked about Park Street too, around the new pumping station or something like that.
Are they pine trees?
I don't think they're probably hardwoods, but I don't.
there are different species, and I mentioned also in that green space, there's still some room and around the beach area, you know, up in the parking area and in that green space.
Because we have to cut down a couple trees, don't we?
Where's
The
that?
dead trees up at the beach area?
He came in and did, some cleanup around the power lines and that other ash that was hanging over, and also there was another.
There's a dead one that was was
Yeah.
there a couple dead?
Yeah, there was a dead one down by the corner of the water where the kayak racks used to be.
Yeah.
And then there was a couple dead ones where the power lines
Yeah, that's
are.
all gone, and then there was another one, the top broke out right on the corner, he took that tree out.
Okay.
I got pictures of it if you need them.
How little are these trees?
He wasn't sure if they were just
I think they're
little
buckets, aren't they?
bare root ones. Are they bare root or are they in
I
a?
thought they were in little buckets.
Okay. So
Some of these
when the power company cuts trees down, I guess they have to replant the tree for every one they cut down. And for whatever reason, I think it was on Clark Road, they weren't
They cleared a
able.
bunch of the right of way area, and they couldn't plant them back, but they need to plant them, so they offered to plant them elsewhere in town. So if you guys would give permission to the conservation committee to put plantings out the parks, that's what Ron's looking for from this committee, and then the
Yeah.
other permission is to take down the fence because it's in the park. So
Which fence?
So can we just
that's
clarify,
down the river.
is that pathway from the parking lot down to where the old ball field was, is that park's responsibility, that trail that goes along the river there?
No, the trail is owned by the Laurel Hill Association, but there's right at the end, the head of the trail is right at our park.
But the fence next to the river is next to the trail.
It is right there, right at the end there is ours. We'll just do it in the area that's ours.
Okay.
I don't think there's a need to have a fence down there, and people are looking to remove fences.
But it'll remove the whole thing. There won't be any left, right?
Oh, so the fence doesn't actually go the whole length of
No.
that trail there, that's right.
Once you start up the trail, right,
Right.
the fence
Okay.
stops. I
Right,
believe it stops right where the town property line is, and then it's just
okay,
there's just a walking path along, and like I said, that's
right. So I'm good with them planting the trees.
Yeah, but do we want to have are we able to like see where they're gonna plant them, or they just random plant them, or who's
Right now,
planting
the
them?
Conservation has permission to plant trees. They're looking for.
So the Conservation Commission's gonna plant them?
Plant trees. I mean, you guys are well within your right to ask them where they want them planted,
Yeah,
or you can leave it to their discretion. I'm not sure, you know,
and what,
look elsewhere to plant, or if they'll still want to plant, or if they're.
And, like-
Do you want us to contact them or do you want to just
I
contact?
would say that chair to chair would be,
Okay, so I'll call them back
just
then.
contact Ron and find out, but I think they're just
So-
looking for permission to.
So why don't I tell them yes, and maybe they can just ask us where they want to plant them
and what kinds they are maybe too?
Yeah, they should pick ones that are not going to attract pests, specific pests,
Yeah.
you know, like, well, pine
But
trees.
they're not selecting any trees, they have the trees, they're
Oh,
given the
they do.
trees from National Grid, so,
Oh, good.
But I'm just thinking
So we don't
maybe,
have a choice to pick 'em.
no.
but they
Could be a
probably have a
of trees.
variety of trees, so we could probably pick and choose where and which trees go where.
Yeah, let's talk to them about it so we can do that together.
I think it'd be nice to get some bigger trees at some of these places that we had to cut down trees, like at the beach or along the road maybe, or just get a little bit more landscape, nice visual. You know, we talked about doing some hydrangeas and maybe like plant a nicer ornamental tree or something.
Let's save that for another time.
Yes.
So I'll call him and I will say, yes, can you just give us a plan of what you plan on planting and where it is before you actually plant them?
Yes.
Is that good?
Yes.
Okay.
And we're not committing to all of them, right?
Depends on how many.
How many are there?
Well, we have a lot of places to plant them too. I mean, down along the river, that Park Street, Averitt Park.
But how many trees are there?
I think he said 46 maybe, something like that.
46 trees?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know one of the places even Tony from sewer was up around the fencing around the pump station.
Right, around the pumping station.
But I liked how they had pine trees around the pump station because, I
They
mean,
were
yes,
cedar.
around the pump station, it'd be nice to have some big trees, I guess, but to hide the pump station, they had pine trees all around the pump station last time. That was better, I think, visually, right?
I don't know. I don't mind looking at it, so.
You don't mind looking at it? Well, you don't have to live next to it.
Everybody's, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
or cedars, or they,
Everybody's cedar too.
Is that gonna be done anytime soon? Pump station?
We're waiting for there's one part that's been backordered because a couple of electronics were basically tied. That, once that's in, they'll be completing it right now. It should be complete by the end of March.
okay. And so then the last one is town-sponsored recreational activities.
Yeah, so, since we're doing all this work to spruce up our parks and our tennis court and the basketball court, I think it would be great if we could, do something to, encourage more recreational activities in the town of Stockbridge. A lot of people, who participate in like pickup leagues and, sports with their kids' teams and stuff have to go to other towns. It would be really nice if we could just do something here. I did talk to a woman who I actually went to high school with, but she went to college for recreation. She ran a YMCA in Boston for about 10 years. She has an organization in Lenox. She coaches a girls soccer league, but she was also a star basketball player in high school. And she said she'd be willing to run a couple of basketball clinics for free, just as on a volunteer basis. I think that would be fun just to have a couple clinics, see how much interest there is with people in town, kids or adults who want to play basketball. Maybe we can sponsor some tennis clinics as well for, making these types of sports more accessible. I think a lot about, the Pine Woods kids, maybe, some of them might be interested in learning pickleball or tennis. If we could have some kind of clinics for them. So I'm just thinking about, some of the, again, the survey I did when I ran, I asked, the public about what kind of recreational activities they'd like to see. I'm going to try to get that data for you from the survey because I think it'll give some insight into, what people were saying, people in town. But I did get the sense that they would be interested in just having more things to do. And on that note, did you ever get anywhere with the senior center pickleball league downstairs?
So Polly's aware of, I forget her name, that was proposing to do it, so.
Oh, okay.
We're looking at, we finally have a senior center director who will be spearheading that as far as getting it up and seeing if we can get a league going. I do know that we have, before the winter came in, we had people playing pickleball on tennis courts.
Oh, yeah.
Outside.
Yes, I did see that.
So one of the things is that pickleball does take off, is whether or not, and this might be for next year, is whether or not we want to redo the gym and put down pickleball lines.
Oh, yeah.
What we can do in the short term is, we're ordering throw down corners and nets. That, they work fine for just finding out if people are interested, and then if we see that there's a demand, we can go from there.
Oh, great. And how soon will those come in?
They should be in any time now, actually. I think we ordered them last week.
Oh, great. And I wonder if we can make space for like, I don't know, on the weekends, is the building locked on the weekends?
The building can be available for outside groups to use on the weekend, because the police stations here are active and that, so.
Because I wonder if we could do something like even, in the winter, like, while it's still cold or whatever, to open it up for an hour or two for community pickleball. I mean, I'd be happy to do an hour to kind of oversee it or whatever on a Sunday.
So right now, the way we use the building as far as programming and otherwise is, for outside groups that want to limit participation, like they only want them and their friends to use the gym, we charge $25 an hour to use the gym for outside groups that want to do it. If you're doing a community group where you're just offering the space, but anybody can come and join, we'll offer the space for free. So
Okay.
we have had groups take advantage of it as far as that. We've had other groups that say, no, we want to control, you know.
And you have
who can come
to, but they have to sign up for a time slot?
Tammy in the assessor's office coordinates the gym use schedule. So if you wanted to do something,
So how would that differ, how is that any different from using, say, the soccer field or the Little League field when we had it? I mean, if you have groups sign up to use the gym at specific times on specific days, then can we
so
not?
youth groups and other groups, you know, we allow them to use
Right,
park. But if you have a group of 5 guys that want to rent the gym and no one else can go in the gym while they're playing basketball, they rent the gym.
no, but what I'm getting at.
So like if
what
a
I'm
soccer
getting at
club
is
wanted
that
to play at the park and
If
then
we have
rent it
multiple clubs that want to use the soccer field, for instance, can we have them sign up on specific days and times?
and pay money,
Well, not pay money if they're nonprofits,
We've
you
had
know.
other groups, we've always had groups.
but it's not open
Well,
to the community, right? If it's a soccer
We've had
club.
Lennox
Yeah.
soccer,
Yeah.
we reserve times for them.
But the thing is, I ran into this problem where like, I couldn't get a hold of the person. There's like another free league that uses it, but like, it's hard, you know, if more people wanted to use the fields, we'd have to have some way for them to like, to schedule it. So we know as a board, who's playing, who's using the
And for
field and
instance,
when.
the Lennox
I don't want to be
one-
in charge of that as a board.
The
I don't
Lennox
have
Club,
to.
that's not just anybody can come off the street and do it. That's their team, you know, practice, whatever. And then that same one, I'm assuming, is that the same woman that you were talking about?
Yeah,
that
she's
had
not
the-
in,
the
yeah,
basketball?
she kind of dropped that whole thing.
Okay. But if we ever did have another organization that wanted to do it, like we did have a couple of groups, but maybe they were just pickup
So
groups.
the bigger thing about that is a for-profit group. You know, we ran into this with the soccer club there that wanted to rent
Right, Black
the
Rock.
field, but they charge their,
Rock.
Right.
they're basically professional soccer players from Europe that come
Right.
in and teach our kids how to play soccer.
Oh,
It's a very expensive program and they basically, whether they should be charged or not, a lot of places will charge them to use, because they're just looking for a space to do it. On the
Yeah.
other hand, nonprofit clubs like the Berkshire County Youth Soccer League and stuff like that.
Right.
None of the towns charge them.
Right. I'm not talking about charging. I'm just talking about signing up. Should we come up with a way to sign up
If-
like you do for the gym?
You can figure out that if it becomes a need to
Oh.
scheduling.
Okay, because right now, like when she was talking with the other woman and they tried to talk to each other, the two coaches, if their times overlapped, well, then what do you do? But if we have, you know, the first person that comes can sign up for their day and time, and then subsequent ones come, well, they have
So a
to
lot of
pick from
times
what's
what
left
you have
over.
in other
it'd be good to have a
Because I've seen
schedule.
is you have a field request form. And then we just would have somebody that would keep a database as to who's requested to use it.
Okay,
What you do is you get,
I don't think we're gonna get that many where we need a
Right.
database, but.
right, but when I say database, it's even just using Microsoft Outlook.
Like, or Excel
and
or
just-
something.
Or Excel, and just setting up a schedule of the time. And what you do is you give them a copy of the field use form. So if they show up, they can say, no, we have the soccer field right now, and it allows them to use
Right,
the soccer.
that I think is what I'm talking about. And so then to go back to what you're saying, if she wants to do a basketball clinic, we're probably gonna have to do the same thing because they're gonna need to use the basketball
Right,
courts.
and you reserve it for that group to use that we
So,
can.
and I'm perfectly fine with anybody who wants to do anything like that, but I think we have to get it under control now when we start it, rather than trying to do it in the middle.
I agree.
know.
And
Well,
I think
I would advertise it too, like as a town thing, right? Like an offering for the town, so it would, you know, other people would hopefully not schedule over it, but I do agree.
No, as far as scheduling, no, if it's a town event, it'd take priority, we'd give her a sheet that says, you know, we can make up easily a field use form and say basketball court from this time to this time. That way, if somebody else said, no, we're not leaving, they could inform the police and go, listen, we have permission from the town to run during this time.
Right.
That's not uncommon. So the first year I got here, we did have complaints about the tennis courts, because we'd have paid instructors show up at the tennis court and kick people off.
Oh, wow.
Well, somebody came in and asked me, and I said, you don't have to leave the court. I said, if those people aren't paying to use the court and they're running a for-profit business, they have no right to tell anybody that they have to get off the court.
Yeah.
That's their issue with their class, and if they're trying to use our.
They should have checked in with the town first.
Or just accept the fact that if somebody's playing there, you don't have a court.
So whatever you have set up for the
We
gymnasium,
should do the same thing.
is that something we can just carry right over to the ball fields?
And right now, unless we're seeing a real demand for it,
Right.
it's very easy to do.
Okay, all right.
It
Now,
gets a little more complicated. We have hundreds of people trying to use the fields, but so far with the gym, we have a handful. We have some volleyball groups, we have a basketball group, we've got, Waldorf School rents times for their basketball team, to run their practices and games here. So the gym is in use.
Now, in the summertime, are they gonna use indoor still, or
They just
like,
use
do they
it for
wanna use?
basketball season.
But do
Most
they-
of the groups go away in the summer, to be honest. They're not
Oh, right.
interested in us.
Yeah.
But in the winter, we always get the calls that people are looking to play sports, do things.
Right.
The senior center runs a walking group twice a week where they just go in and it's available for walking. We have yoga classes,
great.
there's a lot of programming that's happening in the gym. And yes, if you were looking to do
Like a Sunday after, like.
Sunday afternoon, that we put it on, that come down and gym's open from this time to this time. Now, like I said, it's gonna be basically available to anybody who wants to come and use it.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, Sunday afternoons or evenings, like, I could just come and sit and, for an hour and, I don't know, I could come up with some things for the kids to do, or, I don't know, I'd have to think about it, but
Yeah.
I could do that for an hour and open it up and just to allow, have the opportunity for people in town if they want to get out of the house or.
Yeah, we
Kids
put it right on the
run around.
website and that Sunday afternoon group get together, children play or.
If you do charge people, then what does our liability become if somebody gets hurt then?
We have we have general liability insurance. If somebody's running, you have to accept some risk for doing that if you're gonna rent the armory. A group of guys is not gonna have insurance, volleyball groups, the rest, so they, it's use the facility at your own risk.
But if you're charging for it, then
Changes.
that
everything
changes everything, right?
When we get to.
Well, but you said you
Depending
were
on
charging
what-
somebody $25 an hour or something.
Yeah, that's just.
That's for, like,
gym
private
fee,
use.
But if you're getting into a person that's running a business or something,
Okay,
then we get into, like with BlackRock, we insisted that they supply us with certificate of insurance.
Okay.
And all the rest, because then that's definitely a responsibility
okay.
of the organization. So it depends on what you're talking about doing.
So you're charging them for use of the equipment,
Just use of the gym use. period.
okay.
Just gym use fee.
Like a ski area, you're just paying for a lift ticket, not,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But if you had a professional, even a ski player, outside group want to come in and run classes and pay instructors and the rest like BlackRock, right, you're gonna
Right.
make sure you're fully
Insurance,
protected.
yeah, okay.
And the pickleball stuff, you said, you got a fence and some pickleball
Yeah,
equipment?
it's just the basics of just a drop down, basically a drop down court so you can drop them into a gym. Like I said, I did this before up in North Ave, we dropped it down and within the first season, we realized it was so popular. The next year, we redid the court and put the actual lines at the armory, we did 4 courts. It's a much bigger gym. This gym, I think we could do 2 side-by-side courts for pickleball.
So-
Do you have to have a fence around pickleball like you do for tennis?
Well, there is a fence for pickleball, right? It's lower than
Well, the net.
the net is.
Fence.
Oh, sorry, that's what I meant.
I guess my real question is, could we put a pickleball court in next to, say, the basketball court out back?
You have 2 pickleball courts outside. But the tennis court-
Right, but they're also with tennis courts. That would take the pickleball people out of the
No,
tennis
if you're gonna
courts.
go outside, in the gym, you don't bother with, but if you were to go outside, we installed one in North Adams, a pickleball court outside, you would put a fence around.
You would put a fence
Yeah.
around. Because somebody did send an email a while ago asking about pickleball, I
Right,
think.
that's why you guys asked me to include with the redoing of the courts to add pickleball lines.
Yeah, I thought this was it. I think maybe they were asking about Pine Street or something like that, and I think there was lines painted on it.
And as soon as, so the fencing, is the fencing done yet?
Yeah.
So the fencing's done, but then Paredes came back and the quote was, it was quite high. Right. High enough that we're gonna have to go out.
There isn't anyone else who could do it, like he seems.
And there are some others, so we're gonna have to put it out to bid because it was, I think that court's in much worse condition than this court was.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more work, come to find out, over on there. But the plan is to install pickleball lines on those courts also.
Okay,
I mean, one of the things you guys could consider is converting, and I don't know, I guess you guys would know better how much the tennis use is. Because while you can play pickleball on a tennis court, the net is higher. And on a pickleball court, the net is lower. So would you want to convert those into dedicated pickleball courts? I don't know if we're at that stage yet.
I don't think so. When I did my survey, that was actually one of my questions was, how often, or do you play pickleball or tennis? Have you ever gone to either pickleball, or excuse me, either tennis court and not been able to play tennis because there were too many pickleball players and vice versa? And I didn't see, the people that answered I didn't get the sense there was any, one of the questions was, have you ever gone to the tennis court and not been able to play tennis because of pickleball use? And nobody said.
I don't think we ever had lines down before, so no one was thinking about it. I know we
He used to put their own lines down.
We have seen pickleball.
People play all the time.
We do see it now.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
out
There used to
there
be-
playing pickleball.
Lines
And on the-
over
on
at
the
the
skate
skate park.
On the skate park.
Yeah.
And they would bring the tape to the tennis courts too.
Oh, wow.
I'm just saying about making a pickleball, I mean,
Yeah, a separate, like,
right,
I feel like that the tennis courts get a lot of use. Even Pine Street, that's in terrible condition, gets a ton of use.
Yeah, they,
As tennis courts.
So then you.
Where else could we
No,
put
so
a
you probably
pickleball?
wanna keep them The split use, like.
Yeah, but
Well,
I'm
pickle
thinking
and
like there
tennis.
could be need
I'm-
for for additional courts.
right.
Right, it's.
Like maybe
don't think
we
Put
have,
'em in how you
maybe
want.
we do these designated tennis courts and we have a whole nother court designated pickleball.
Right, that's much.
Right,
yeah, I don't think we're
That's-
there yet,
this
but
engineering, everything, you have to put
Yeah.
a base down, your building's court, a whole court system, like.
right, but
Maybe
it's
we
been
could
done
use-
before.
Oh, yeah, no, we can do that.
I mean, that doesn't
So,
mean we
right,
can't do
if-
it.
If there's so do we start first with getting the other, wait to see what the demand is, and if it's, that's, I know that's what I did in North Adams, is first was the armory, throw down courts, became very popular, we painted the lines, then we actually installed outdoor courts. So we're sort of jumping and saying it's gonna be popular, do we first build it and then see?
Yeah, maybe we should wait and see if
And
the,
then if there is a
hype-
demand, we go, okay, let's put a pickleball court.
yeah, we could wait and see if the hype dies down of pickleball.
Do
Yeah.
people still play horseshoes?
I love that game. That would be fun to have.
I know that when we did.
What's it?
When we
Yeah,
did the pickleball
Tripping hazard.
court, some people pushed for a bocce court and we put a bocce court in.
Yeah, it's kind of,
sits there. So it was like somebody's pet, oh, I want a bocce court, and then we put it in and
Right,
I've never seen it. I've seen kids play in it. I've never actually seen
people playing bocce, yeah.
bocce games, I shouldn't say never, but very rarely was there ever anybody there. Well, the pickleball and basketball courts were packed, the playground was packed,
right.
The other court was. And the other thing is, we didn't leave balls out, so you had to bring your own balls, and a lot of people, same thing with horseshoes, you're not gonna leave.
Right.
You're gonna,
Plus it's like it could be a tripping hazard, those things sticking out of the ground.
you wanna color them so that people would see them, but.
Well, they have
it's one of those
they have a
things.
box around.
Is there enough demand to, I don't know,
Yeah.
that's, they build it.
I bet
If you
people.
build it, they will come.
Yes,
right?
it's true. I bet they would play, I bet the horseshoes would get good use. Yeah, right. Forgot about that. The
should we
love-
see if James has any questions?
I don't even know where 84 North Plain, whatever that would be, is he even from? Stockbridge?
James, are you there? Do you have anything that you would like to discuss with us? James?
James on Zoom?
Nothing. Okay, meeting adjourned.